Hi, Cathy McLeish. I'm in recovery from alcoholism over 30 years, exactly 37. And I just want to share about the before, the recovery, and everything in between. I had a question in my comments, and I love my followers, I love my subscribers, and I definitely love the comments. So I'm going to try and address it as honestly as I can. The question was, why really should I get sober? How does life get better sober? And, that would be different for each person. And, I can go through different people, and I think that's what I'll kind of do. But the real way to address this question is to kind of say the pros and the cons. If you don't get sober, here's what I've seen. And if you get sober, here's what I've seen. So these may sound like rosy pie in the sky promises. They are not. And these over here might sound like horrid made up stories, and they are. So, somewhere in between, wherever you are, please be honest enough to say, this could be me, or that could be me. Because everybody that had the good stuff happen couldn't believe it could happen for them. Everybody that had the bad, morbid stuff happen always thought it was going to happen to somebody else. So maybe it started with a ticket. Of all the recovery, get-togethers I've been at or meetings I've been in, nobody has ever come because they just woke up one day and wanted a different life and wanted to get sober. Most people came because their ass was on fire. They either had, an ultimatum from a partner or a boss, or they had some kind of court, system after them, and they had to answer to that. A lot of times it's to stay out of jail. And you might think that is extreme, but this day and age, people aren't putting up with us as drinkers. Back when I was drinking, you could get a slap on the hand and you could be off and running doing the very same thing the next day. It's not so much the case this day. And, good for them, because we hurt people and we can kill people. One of the, saddest stories that I've heard is a guy that was in an automobile accident and killed his spouse. Another where somebody was drinking and they backed out of their driveway over their 2-year-old child. And the child, it was a fatal accident. There are horrible stories. We always think they will not happen to us, but I've sat next to living people that have had those stories to tell. And what heartbreakers to get sober after that happens. Thank goodness that they are sober and living a different life, but to have to deal with that for the rest of your life because you chose to stop then and not before. I know of people that have been in prison for drug and alcohol charges, gotten out of prison, sat in recovery atmospheres and talked about how horrible that was and how it wasn't going to be that way anymore, and then went back to the drink, to the drug, and then landed in prison again. One got out of prison and then committed suicide. Actually, was it suicide or was it an overdose? I always am, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did I put so much drugs and alcohol in my system that I overdosed? Or did I decide to overdose and end my life with drugs and alcohol? So alcohol is a depressant. It will bring you down. You will make choices you would not make otherwise. And when we first put it in our body, it lifts us. It gives us courage. It gives us this good, warm, cozy feeling. And, we chase that for the rest of our days. And if we cross that line over into the addiction, if we have that craving, that allergy that we can never satisfy, it will leave us in this point of desperation where we're chasing the old days and they never come back. They never come back. But what does come is this insanity in our thinking, this lack of truth in our thinking that says, it's not that bad. I can try again. I'll try another way. I'll do it different this time. You will see. And the reasons that I got sober were not virtuous. They were because our children were depending on 2 alcoholic parents, and somebody needed to do something. And just by grace, I was that person. And once I got, away from a drink for a day, a week, a month, I started to see that the joke was on me. And you try to tell people that. And they're still like I was. Oh, but don't take my drink. My drink is how I cope. I need that drink. And we do, because we don't have anything else in place. But if we ask for help, if we go either to treatment or to outpatient or to some kind of recovery meeting, we will get some suggestions on how to handle things so that we don't have to drink. So without a drink, I move into this life. And probably the first thing I realize is I can start to make choices. I am not controlled by alcohol all day long. And if you're not to that point, it may come, So if you can stop before that happens, that is a very good thing. But I was to the point where alcohol regulated my whole life. Where I went, what I did, where I didn't go, who I did stuff with, who I didn't do stuff with. And I could start out in my sober life having control of what I did each hour because alcohol was not a factor. And so I could get in my car and go someplace, not worry if I had been drinking, not worry if I needed to drink or if there was alcohol in the car, not worry who was in my rearview mirror or what the people that I was going to visit were going to think about my breath or my eyes or the way that I looked and acted. So freedom. There is a freedom in not drinking that we don't realize until we're on the other side. And then the choices that I started to make, lining up one good choice after another, started to, work away at this pile of stuff I've been drinking at. This relationship that I didn't know how to handle. I could talk to people, I could get some ideas, I could use ways that I never thought of myself, and I would start to go into situations and I would be successful. In my own, sobriety, I started a business. I wanted to be with my kids, my marriage had broke up. I wanted to be able to drop them off at school, pick them up from school, and work in this, time frame. Well, what boss does that? Not very many. So I started my own business of interior painting. And, it wasn't a big deal, but it was a huge deal for me. I would go to these people's houses, I would do an estimate, I would do a follow through, I would show up, I would do the job, I would get paid, and I, was able to take care of my kids on my own time schedule and do it, honestly and with pride, with a lot of pride. And, I can remember one of the first days that I went and I was, doing this job. It took more than one day. So I had worked on this bathroom one day. I came back the next day and there was no key. She said she'd leave the key under the mat for me. There was no key. You know what I thought? This alcoholic early in recovery, I thought, oh crap, she thought I did a horrible job. They don't want me back in their house. I remember calling my coach and saying, oh my gosh, here I am, a failure on one of my first jobs. And she was like, no, call the woman, see what's up. You are not drinking anymore. You are showing up sober and you can trust who you are. So I did. I called the customer and she said, oh my gosh, the key is in the garage, under the can, on the shelf. Go, please do the job. You're doing a wonderful job. So it may seem like a small thing. That was a huge thing to me that I could do on my own, what I never thought I could do. And that led to more things and more things and more things. And I was able to make bigger choices and bigger choices. I chose to get married again. There is a lot of fear in failure. And if you don't have anything, that has changed in your character, that has changed in your outlook, that you can think about, if I run into problems, will I be able to handle it with this other human being? If I don't have any of that confidence build up through working on myself, I don't have a lot of hope for another relationship. And I went into that second relationship with the idea that it would last. And we're gonna celebrate 30 years in about 6 months. And it has lasted, but it hasn't lasted out of luck. It hasn't lasted because he's a mush and I can walk all over him. It isn't like that at all. It has lasted because we come upon a problem. We don't depend on alcohol or drugs. We talk to people, we get help, we talk to each other, we communicate, and then we just build on that year after year after year. We've had problems, we've split up for a night here or a night there. Back in the day, we've argued and woke our kids up. We are not, these magical people that have gotten sober and lived happily ever after. We have the same problems as anyone else. We just have tools that bring us on the other side stronger and happier and more fulfilled. And that is one of the reasons that I stay sober. It's not like I got sober and life was just like mine for the choosing. It's like I got sober and I had to still keep doing things to go forward. And those things are about this big for my going forward benefits. And I say that in all honesty. I am, okay, so an alcoholic, if they weren't going to get something, they wouldn't go to the other side. We are a people that like come face to face with somebody that says we need to get sober, and we'll say something shitty like, well, what's in it for me? How's that going to work for me? Tell me why I should do that. When actually we should do it just for the benefit of the people that have been putting up with us. But no, we want to know why. Tell me why you deserve me to get sober. And then they tell us all of the benefits. And then we think, but is that worth putting down the alcohol? I could end up in jail. I could end up out on the street. I could end up with no job. But is that worth giving up the alcohol? Well, let me tell you, in your sane moment, believe me, it is. It is. I went on, in sobriety. I was in a horrible car accident, and I don't want to talk about that, but I came out on the other side, and I was not afraid. I wasn't afraid of surgery or surgeons. I knew that if I knew the doctor and I trusted the doctor, I would be okay. So I went through Johns Hopkins, and I did an altruistic kidney donation. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that to say, I have choices in my sober life, and my life can make a difference for other people. And it can be on a small scale, and it can be on a bigger scale, because those choices are mine. And so I was able to do something, not because I'm all that, but because I had moved forward in sobriety, and the way that my life opened up, I really felt God equipped me to do something a little bit extra because of the journey I'd been on. I didn't have a lot of fear. Alcoholics put up with a lot of crap that they cause themselves, but we have this pain level, and we have this understanding of the fact that because of our addiction, we were willing to, go through just about anything. And there can be a lot of shame and a lot of guilt in that, but you can come out on the other side. You can work through the shame and the guilt, and you can use that in your favor. You can use that stamina. You can use that willingness to keep going, that desire to see what's out there and, see what you're capable of. And you can go back to college. I went back to college and got my degree. I have, children that love being in my life. I have children, I know where they all are. They, are all in my life, and they have children that are all in my life. So it has been a 30-year period for me, actually 37. But let me say, I didn't reap those benefits in the last 5 years. I reaped those benefits all the way along, more than I deserved. And the relationships that I have with other people in, a sobriety atmosphere. And I guess I need to say, I am talking about people that get around other people that are doing what they're trying to do. So some kind of recovery atmosphere, however you choose to do it, but to find yourself other people that are living a life of change and growth, okay? And then in the middle of that, you change and you grow. And so from early on, when you're with people like that, I have friends from years ago, high school, whatever. There are people in my life for over 40 years that I know very little bit about because they don't share a whole lot. People don't talk. They talk on a surface level. But you get into recovery groups, and because you're faced with life or death situations, if I drink, I can die. If I drink, somebody else can die. If I drink, I can go to prison. So I am going to talk to you on a real level because I need a real answer. And I can't do this fake, phony, and I'm not picking on anybody. I just can't do this surface crap and get to the root of who I am and what I need in order to go through life and be happy without a drink. So you get into these groups of people and they're real. They may be real assholes sometimes, but they are real. And so you talk at a lower level, at a deeper level. And you get to know people, you get to know their journey, their successes, their failures. You realize you're not alone in all of your freaking failures. In fact, you figure out that everybody has their stuff. Everybody, in and out of recovery, in and out of, this class, that class, that class. Everybody has their stuff. And so in that atmosphere, you can talk about your stuff and you can pull answers. And then you go forward. But in the meantime, you develop these friendship relationships with these people and you're bonded. Early on, you're bonded in a way you haven't bonded with people that you've known for 20 years. And I just want to look at that as a plus. If we're not looking at everybody else and saying, oh, they're this way. It's not like that. In recovery, we are not these privileged people. We are just people that find this atmosphere where we can really move and grow with people that are willing to love us, support us, and grow with us. And sometimes it's as simple as this. We haven't hurt them. We haven't done anything to them. We haven't stolen anything from them. We haven't broke their heart. So they can be that for us. And thank goodness they can. And I can be that for her. And my husband can be that for him. And we will help them grow just the way that other people helped us grow. And that's how it goes. It just is cyclical. Person after person, generation after generation. But to find that is like finding a gold mine in this world where people don't talk about their problems. They're a little bit, unwilling to help each other because somebody might have some strings attached or they might not be able to get rid of that person when they want to. And we just have walls up, and it's understandable because we all hurt each other, and instinctively we want to protect ourselves and the people that we love. So sobriety, what is it worth? Why would I get sober? I would get sober for all of this. I would get sober for being able to look at you and honestly say, I am living a very good life. I really like myself. I could be there for you if you needed me. And I could show you how to get some help if you wanted help. I could also be happy for you if some good things are happening. When I was early on sober, this is sad for me to admit, but I will always admit it. If I was 60 days sober and somebody relapsed, I was happy. I was happy with their disappointment, with their failure, because you know what? I was a failure and I wanted somebody to be behind me. I didn't want to be the lowest on the totem pole. Well, you know what? Over the months and years, that has changed to where at a year sobriety, I'm rooting for everybody behind me, and I don't want them to fail because there is enough room at the top for everybody, and we can all be happy for each other in a better life. So I don't deal with so much jealousy. I don't deal with envy. I, kind of wear the world like a loose garment. Is that the expression? Because things will come and go. People will come and go, especially in recovery. We have buried people. I have had people very close to me that have gone back out and lived, a different kind of life and go, downhill. And everybody doesn't, but the majority of them do. So I would never, tempt that fate. I have no need to because I really like where I'm at. And is my life 24/7 recovery? No, it's not. It doesn't need to be. Recovery is a part of my life for the rest of my life, only so that I can get back, only so that I can stay healthy, that I can keep this ism in my head from running my life. So I do. I give a piece of my life to this great thing that has given me my life, and I go forward. I am not chained to anything or anybody. When I speak at a group, and once a month I'll spend an hour and a half and I'll go to some outpatient thing where people are coming in and they're hanging on by a thread and they're trying to stay sober. And that's a little piece of me giving back because somebody was there for me when I was that person. And when I go there, I will say, you know what? Here's the difference between you and me. I don't have any monkeys on my back. I don't have any monkeys on my back. I can go into any room, into any place, and I am comfortable being there. Other than the normal social things of like, how do I look? Did I wear the right thing? I am a normal person with the same normal makeup as anybody else, but I don't carry all of this baggage because of my drinking and because of the reasons that drinking was my answer. So I don't know if that helps at all. I think I will probably delve into this with a little bit more facts, but the idea is if you are on the fence, if you are thinking, maybe not, could you just convince me? Well, nobody can really do that, but the thing that worked for me is trying it. By the time I had been away from a drink for 30 days, I could see things about my life that nobody could have told me. If they had told me, I wouldn't have believed them. And that is the truth. And there were at least a dozen things connected to my drinking that I would have said, that is his fault, and that is their fault, and that is this institution's fault. But I wouldn't have thought it had to do with me and my drinking, whether it was my sleeping, my weight, my relationships, my finances, my work ethics. Everything had something to do with my drinking, either this much or this much. So I hope that this gives you a little bit to think about. I hope that maybe you would try a day, a week, a month, and just see what's on the other side. Aren't you curious? And if you do, good luck, but luck won't do it. It will take some kind of support system. Some people that are saying, hey, I gotcha. Give me a call when you're struggling. Give me a call when you're puzzled and you don't know what to do. I'm here for you. I've walked that walk, and I'll be glad to show you how to do it a day at a time. So Cathy McLeish, just trying to give a little information to people that may or may not want it, but may need it so that alcoholism isn't taking the worst toll on their life because they really don't know enough about it. Thanks.